My name is Skylar, and I am 34 years old. I was standing in front of the mirror at the Pink Door restaurant in Seattle, smoothing down my sapphire blue evening gown, heart racing with anticipation. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. 10 years of marriage to Travis, the man I thought I knew better than anyone. He had been acting strange for weeks, sneaking phone calls, smiling at secret messages, promising me the biggest surprise of my life. I believed him. I trusted him completely. How could I have been so blind? Before I share what happened that night, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your city in the comments below, and please hit that subscribe button. You will want to stay until the very end to see how everything unfolded. Trust me, you will not believe what came next. I met Travis 12 years ago during our junior year at the University of Washington. He was studying architecture, spending late nights in the design studio with blueprints spread across every available surface. I was in the marketing program, always rushing between classes with my laptop bag slung over my shoulder and a coffee in hand. We literally bumped into each other outside Kane Hall on a rainy October morning. My coffee spilled all over his portfolio case. I was mortified, apologizing over and over while trying to wipe the liquid off his work. He just laughed, that warm, genuine laugh that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. He said it was fate. Maybe the universe wanted us to meet. I fell for him right there in that moment. Our first date was at this very restaurant, the Pink Door. We sat by the window overlooking the waterfront, sharing a margarita pizza and talking for 4 hours straight. He told me about his dream of designing sustainable buildings that would change city skylines. I shared my passion for building brands that actually meant something to people. We discovered we both loved hiking in the Cascades, old jazz records, and terrible action movies from the 80s. Everything felt easy with Travis. Natural. Right. 2 years later, on a crisp autumn evening at Alki Beach, Travis got down on one knee as the sun set over Puget Sound. The ring was simple, a single diamond on a thin gold band, nothing extravagant. He said he spent 3 months saving for it. He looked into my eyes and said I was his best friend, his partner, the person he wanted to build a life with. I said yes before he even finished asking. My mom cried when we told her. His parents threw us an engagement party at their house in Ballard. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. Golden. Blessed. We got married the following spring in a small ceremony at a vineyard in Woodinville. 50 guests, handwritten vows, dancing until midnight. We honeymooned in Costa Rica, spending 2 weeks exploring rainforests and falling asleep to the sound of ocean waves. When we came home, we moved into a modest craftsman house in the Ballard neighborhood, the one with the blue front door and the cherry tree in the yard. We painted the walls together, arguing playfully about whether the living room should be sage green or warm gray. Travis won. It was sage green. The first 10 years of our marriage were everything I could have hoped for. We both threw ourselves into our careers. Travis became a partner at Morrison & Associates, one of the most prestigious architecture firms in the Pacific Northwest. He had just completed the design for a major office building downtown, a project that had consumed him for 18 months. I worked my way up to marketing director at a tech startup that developed educational software. The hours were long, the work challenging but fulfilling. We supported each other through late nights and stressful deadlines. We took weekend trips to the San Juan Islands. We hosted dinner parties for friends. We talked about having children someday, but agreed we wanted to establish our careers first. We had time, or so I thought. 3 weeks before our 10th anniversary, I started noticing changes in Travis. Small things at first. He would check his phone constantly, smiling at the screen, before quickly locking it when I walked into the room. He started taking calls in the garage or outside on the porch, always with some excuse about needing better reception or wanting fresh air. One evening, I asked him who he was talking to so often. He said it was Anthony, a new client who was very demanding. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? In 10 years, Travis had never given me a reason to doubt him. Then came the anniversary planning. I spent 3 full days shopping for the perfect dress. I tried on at least 20 before finding the sapphire gown. It had delicate beading along the neckline and a flowing skirt that moved like water when I walked. I booked our original first date location, the Pink Door, for a private dining room. I invited 40 of our closest people, friends from college, colleagues from both our offices, our families. I spent hours creating a playlist of songs that meant something to us. I ordered a custom cake from the bakery where we bought our wedding cake. Everything had to be perfect. Travis insisted on handling what he called the entertainment and the surprise. He said he had something special planned, something that would make this anniversary unforgettable. He told me not to worry about a single detail on his end. Just show up looking beautiful and be ready to celebrate. His eyes sparkled when he said it. I thought maybe he had arranged for a special performance, or perhaps he had booked us a trip somewhere exotic. My sister Brooke joked that he was probably going to renew our vows in some grand romantic gesture. I blushed at the thought, secretly hoping she was right. The night of the anniversary arrived. I spent 2 hours getting ready, making sure every detail was flawless. Hair swept up in an elegant twist. Makeup subtle but polished. The sapphire dress fit like it was made for me. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt beautiful, confident, loved. I drove to the restaurant early to make sure everything was set up correctly. The room looked magical. Soft lighting, white roses on every table, candles flickering in glass holders. Our wedding song played quietly through the speakers. Guests began arriving right on time. My mom, Patricia, hugged me tight, tears already forming in her eyes. She always got emotional at family celebrations. My younger sister, Brooke, arrived with her husband, immediately complimenting my dress and asking where Travis was. My best friend Danielle showed up with a bottle of expensive champagne, saying she could not wait to toast to 10 more years. Travis's parents, Linda and Richard, arrived together, his mother carrying a wrapped gift, despite my insistence that presents was present enough. Colleagues from both our companies filtered in along with friends we had known since college. The room filled with warmth and laughter and love. Travis arrived 20 minutes after most of the guests. He looked handsome in his charcoal suit, but something was off. His face seemed tight, almost nervous. His smile did not quite reach his eyes. I walked over to him, kissed his cheek, and whispered, asking if he was all right. He said he was just excited about the surprise, maybe a little anxious about pulling it off. I squeezed his hand, told him whatever he planned would be perfect because we were together. He nodded but did not meet my eyes. Dinner service began. We had chosen a 5-course meal, each dish paired with wine. The food was exquisite, but I barely tasted it. I was too caught up in the joy of having everyone we loved in one room. People gave impromptu toasts. My mom talked about how she knew Travis was the one when she saw how he looked at me. Danielle shared a funny story about our college days. Travis's father raised his glass and said he was proud to call me his daughter. I felt so full of gratitude, so blessed. This was my family, my life, my happiness. Travis kept checking his watch. Every few minutes his eyes would dart to the door, then back to his plate. I asked him again if everything was okay. He said the surprise was coming soon, just be patient. My stomach fluttered with anticipation. Halfway through the main course, Travis suddenly stood up. He tapped his fork against his wine glass, the clear ringing sound cutting through the conversation. The room fell quiet. Everyone turned to look at him. I smiled up at my husband, expecting him to say something sweet about our 10 years together. Maybe thank everyone for coming. Perhaps start building up to whatever surprise he had planned. But the words that came out of his mouth were not what I expected. He thanked everyone for being there, said he appreciated them taking time out of their busy lives. Normal so far. Then his tone shifted. He said he had something important to share, something that was going to change everything. He said he had been carrying a secret for months, and tonight felt like the right time to let everyone know. My smile faltered. The words felt wrong, cold. There was no warmth in his voice when he spoke, no affection in his eyes when he glanced at me, just a strange, almost desperate determination. I looked around the room. People were exchanging confused glances. My mother's face showed concern. Danielle leaned forward in her seat, her eyebrows drawn together. What kind of secret could Travis possibly have that needed to be announced at our anniversary dinner? A surprise trip, a big career move, a pregnancy announcement. But we were not trying for a baby. My mind raced through possibilities, each one feeling more unlikely than the last. Then Travis said the words that made my blood run cold. He said he had been carrying this secret for months, and tonight was the right time to share it with all of them. He said his life was about to change in a major way. He looked toward the entrance of the restaurant. My eyes followed his gaze just as the main door swung open. A young woman stepped through. She was probably in her mid-20s, wearing a striking red dress that hugged her curves. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders. She was beautiful in that effortless way that made you both admire and resent her at the same time. She walked in with confidence, a bright smile on her face, her eyes locked on Travis like no one else in the room existed. My brain struggled to process what I was seeing. I recognized her. Amber, Travis's assistant. She had started working at Morrison and Associates about 6 months ago. I had only met her once briefly at the company holiday party last December. She had seemed nice enough, enthusiastic, maybe a little too friendly with Travis, but I had brushed it off. She was young, new to the professional world. I thought she was just eager to impress her boss. But Amber was not on the guest list. I had not invited her. Why was she here? Why was Travis looking at her like that? Why was no one else in the room saying anything? The confused murmurs started. I heard my sister whisper something to her husband. Saw Danielle lean over to ask the person next to her if they knew who that was. Travis's mother clutched her napkin, her face pale. The entire room felt like it had tilted on its axis. Everything looked the same, the white roses, the candles, the half-eaten plates of food, but nothing felt right anymore. I turned back to Travis. I opened my mouth to ask what was happening, why his assistant was interrupting our anniversary dinner, but before I could form the words, Travis did something that shattered my entire world. He walked away from our table. He walked across the room to Amber. He took her hand, and he smiled at her with more genuine warmth than he had shown me in months. Travis led Amber to the center of the room right in front of everyone. He still held the microphone he had been using for his speech. His hand was wrapped around hers, fingers intertwined like they had done this 1,000 times before, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I sat frozen in my chair, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to do anything but watch this nightmare unfold. He turned to face our guests. He said he wanted to introduce someone very special, not just his assistant, not just a colleague. He said Amber had brought light back into his life. She had shown him what it meant to feel truly alive again. She had reminded him that passion still existed in the world, Every word he spoke was a knife twisting deeper into my chest. People around the room gasped. I heard my mother say, "Oh my God," under her breath. Saw Danielle's mouth fall open in shock. Travis talked about how he and Amber had connected over the past 6 months. How they started with late-night conversations at the office, talking about dreams and fears and things he claimed he could not discuss with me anymore. How those conversations turned into coffee meetings, then lunches, then dinners. How he realized she understood him in ways I apparently never had. He said all of this while standing in the middle of our anniversary party, while 40 people who loved us sat watching in horror. While I sat there in my sapphire dress feeling like I might vomit. Then Travis did something I could not have imagined even in my worst nightmare. He let go of Amber's hand. He reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box. Red velvet. The same color as Amber's dress. Everything was coordinated. Planned. This was not some spontaneous confession. This was orchestrated. Travis got down on one knee in front of Amber. Right there, at our 10th wedding anniversary party. He opened the box to reveal a diamond ring so large it caught the candlelight and threw sparkles across the ceiling. Nothing like the simple, modest ring he had given me 12 years ago on that beach. This was ostentatious, expensive, meant to make a statement. He looked up at Amber and said the words that would replay in my mind for months. Amber, you have shown me what true passion feels like. You make me want to be a better man. Will you marry me? The room erupted, but not in celebration, in chaos. Half the people gasped, some yelled. I heard chair legs scraping against the floor as people stood up. My mother screamed, "What is this madness, Travis?" My sister Brooke rushed to my side, her arms wrapping around me as I sat there shaking. I could not cry, could not scream, could not do anything. My body had gone into some kind of shock, refusing to process what was happening. Amber played her part perfectly. She put her hands over her mouth in mock surprise. Tears formed in her eyes. She breathed out yes in a breathy whisper. Travis slipped the ring onto her finger. They embraced. They kissed. Right there. In front of everyone. In front of me. A few guests actually clapped. I think they were confused, not sure how to react, their brains struggling to make sense of what they were witnessing. Most people just sat in stunned silence. Some were already gathering their things to leave. I could see the disgust on their faces, the pity when they looked at me. I hated that pity more than anything. Danielle was on her feet marching toward Travis. Her face was red with fury. She demanded to know how he could do this, how he could humiliate me like this at our own anniversary party. Travis had the audacity to look calm. He said he needed everyone here to witness the beginning of his real happiness. He said he could not pretend anymore. He had tried to love me the way a husband should, but he realized he was settling. Amber made him feel things I never could. Those words hurt more than the proposal, more than the kiss. The implication that our entire marriage had been him settling. That 10 years of my life, 10 years of building a home and a future together meant nothing because some 26-year-old in a red dress made him feel alive. Amber had the nerve to speak. She looked around at all the shocked faces and said she had no idea this was our anniversary party. She claimed Travis had told her it was just a dinner with friends. She tried to sound innocent, like she was some unknowing participant in this disaster, but I saw the satisfaction in her eyes, the triumph. She knew exactly what this was. She wanted to win, and she wanted me to watch her do it. My mother demanded that Travis leave immediately. His own mother, Linda, had tears streaming down her face. She reached across the table for my hand, squeezing it tight, apologizing over and over for her son's behavior. Richard Travis's father looked like he wanted to hit his own child. The disappointment on his face was devastating. Travis stood there holding Amber the ring glittering on her finger, looking almost defiant, like he was daring anyone to challenge his decision, like this was somehow brave instead of cruel. He looked at me, finally. Really looked at me for the first time that night. He said, "I am sorry you had to find out this way, but I cannot pretend anymore. I need to be with someone who makes me feel alive." That was it. No real apology. No acknowledgement of the decade we had spent together. No recognition of the vows he made, the life we built, the future we planned. Just sorry I had to find out this way, as if the method was the problem and not the betrayal itself. I felt Brooke's arms tighten around me. Heard Danielle telling Travis exactly what she thought of him in language that would have made a sailor blush. Watched as more guests stood to leave, shaking their heads, some stopping to touch my shoulder or whisper that they were so sorry. The anniversary party that was supposed to celebrate our love had become the funeral for our marriage, and Travis had orchestrated every moment of it. I stood up slowly. My legs felt like they might give out, but I forced myself to stay upright. I was going to walk out of this restaurant with whatever dignity I had left. I was not going to give Travis and Amber the satisfaction of seeing me completely broken. I took one step toward the door. That is when everything changed. The back door of the restaurant, the one that led to the kitchen, slammed open with such force it crashed against the wall. Every head in the room turned. A man stormed through the doorway. He was around my age, maybe a year or two older, wearing a navy suit that looked hastily thrown on. His tie was loose, top button undone. His face was flushed red with anger veins visible at his temples. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on Amber. Then they narrowed with pure rage. He marched straight to the center of the room where Travis and Amber stood, still holding hands, still wearing their newly engaged glow. He was carrying a large canvas messenger bag, the strap cutting across his chest. When he reached them, he dropped the bag on the floor with a heavy thud that made several people jump. "So this is where you have been, Amber." His voice boomed through the dining room. Every conversation stopped. Every eye was on him. "Working late business dinners with your boss?" Amber's face transformed. The confident, triumphant smile vanished, replaced with something close to terror. All the color drained from her cheeks. She dropped Travis's hand like it had burned her. "Kyle," she stammered. "What are you doing here?" Kyle. The name meant nothing to me, but clearly meant everything to Amber. Travis looked between them, confusion replacing his earlier smugness. "Who is this?" he asked Amber. Kyle let out a harsh laugh, the kind without any humor behind it. "Who am I? I am her husband." The room, which had already been in chaos, exploded into something worse. People gasped louder. Someone knocked over a wine glass. I heard Travis say, "What?" in a strangled voice. Kyle turned to address not just Travis and Amber, but everyone in the room. He seemed to want witnesses. "My name is Kyle Peterson. Amber and I have been married for 3 years. We have a daughter together, Emma. She just turned 2 years old last month." Amber tried to interrupt to explain, but Kyle cut her off with a sharp gesture. He was not done. He bent down, unzipped the messenger bag, and started pulling out items. Photographs first. Wedding photos. He held them up for everyone to see. There was Amber in a white wedding dress standing next to Kyle in a tuxedo, both of them beaming at the camera. He tossed them onto the nearest table. Then came more photos. A baby. A little girl with Amber's dark hair and Kyle's smile. Pictures of the three of them at a park at the beach at birthday parties. A family. A whole entire family. Kyle pulled out more evidence. Printed emails between Travis and Amber, their messages filled with terms of endearment and plans for a future together. Text message screenshots where Amber talked about leaving her unhappy marriage to be with the man she really loved. Kyle threw each piece of evidence down like he was building a case in court. Travis picked up one of the wedding photos. His hand trembled as he stared at it. He looked at Amber with complete betrayal in his eyes. "You told me you were divorced," he said quietly. "You said your ex-husband was out of the picture. You showed me pictures of your apartment. You said you lived alone." Amber opened her mouth, but nothing came out at first. Kyle answered for her. "Divorced. We just celebrated our 3rd anniversary last month. Took Emma to the zoo. Remember that, Amber, you posted about it on social media. Called me the love of your life." He pulled out his phone, showed the screen around the room. Sure enough, there was a Facebook post dated 4 weeks ago. Amber, Kyle, and little Emma feeding giraffes. The caption read, "3 years with my best friend. Here is to forever." Travis looked like he might be sick. The expensive engagement ring he had just placed on Amber's finger suddenly represented something entirely different. Not a new beginning, but proof of how thoroughly he had been deceived. Kyle turned his fury on Travis. "She told you she was single. Did she also tell you that I have been working 2 jobs for the past 3 years to support her while she went back to school? That I take care of our daughter every time she claimed she was working late at your office? That she borrowed money from my parents last month, saying we needed it for Emma's daycare, when really she was probably buying new clothes to impress you?" Amber finally found her voice. She turned to Travis, grabbed his arm. "Baby, I can explain. He is making it sound worse than it is. Our marriage has been over for a long time. I was going to file for divorce. I just needed to wait for the right time." Kyle's laugh was bitter. "The right time? When, Amber? After you married him and took half of everything I have worked for." Travis pulled his arm away from Amber. He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "You lied to me," he said. "About everything. You lied to your wife." Kyle shot back, pointing at me. "So maybe you two deserve each other." People around the room were whispering frantically now. Travis's colleagues from the architecture firm looked mortified. His reputation built over years of hard work was crumbling in real time. No one wanted to be associated with the man who proposed to his married assistant at his own anniversary party. My mother-in-law, Linda, had her face in her hands, shoulders shaking with sobs. Richard stood up, walked over to Travis, and did something I never thought I would see. He slapped his own son across the face. Hard. The crack echoed through the room. "You disgrace this family," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "You disgrace your wife. You disgrace yourself." Travis stood there, hand on his reddening cheek, the engagement ring still in Amber's trembling hand, surrounded by the wreckage of his own making. He had wanted everyone to witness his new beginning. Instead, they were all witnessing his complete destruction. Kyle grabbed the wedding photos off the table, shoved them back in his bag. He looked at Amber with something that mixed disgust and heartbreak. "I am filing for divorce tomorrow, and I am going for full custody of Emma. You will not see our daughter again." Amber's face crumpled. She started crying real tears this time, not the performed emotion from Travis's proposal. "You cannot take my baby from me," she sobbed. "Watch me," Kyle said. He turned to leave, then stopped. He looked at me, sitting there still in my sapphire dress, still surrounded by the ruins of what was supposed to be a celebration. "I am sorry you got caught up in this," he said quietly. You deserve better than him." Then he walked out the same door he came in through, leaving Amber crying, Travis pale and speechless, and me sitting in the middle of it all, my brain finally starting to catch up with everything that had just happened. In the span of 30 minutes, I had watched my husband propose to another woman, discovered that woman was married with a child, and seen both of their lives implode in front of 40 witnesses. It was the worst night of my life, and it was about to get so much better. The room remained in absolute chaos. Amber was crying, mascara running down her face in black streaks. Travis looked like a statue frozen in place, his face still pale from Kyle's revelations. People were gathering their coats, whispering to each other, some casting pitying looks my way as they headed for the exit. The anniversary party had fully transformed into a disaster scene, and everyone wanted to escape before it got worse. But I was not ready to leave yet. Something shifted inside me as I watched Amber sob and Travis stand there looking lost. Maybe it was Kyle's parting words. Maybe it was the sheer audacity of what Travis had tried to pull off. Maybe it was 10 years of being a good wife, a supportive partner, someone who put his needs before her own, finally reaching a breaking point. I stood up from my chair slowly. Brooke tried to hold on to my arm, but I gently pulled away. Danielle asked if I was okay. I nodded, even though I had no idea if that was true. My mother reached for me, concern etched deep in her features, but I gave her what I hoped was a reassuring smile. I walked to the center of the room. My heels clicked against the hardwood floor, each step deliberate and measured. Travis finally looked at me. Really looked at me. There was something in his eyes that might have been regret, or maybe just embarrassment at being caught. Either way, I did not care anymore. "Skylar," he started, his voice hoarse. "I did not mean for you to find out like this." I held up my hand, stopping him mid-sentence. My voice when I spoke was steady, calm. It surprised even me. "Thank you," I said. Travis blinked. "What?" "Thank you," I repeated, "for doing this in front of everyone. It saves me the trouble of telling them myself." Confusion crossed his face. Around us, the remaining guests who had not yet fled stopped moving. They wanted to hear this. "What do you mean?" Travis asked. I felt a smile pull at my lips, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been holding cards close to their chest and was finally ready to lay them on the table. "I mean, now I do not have to feel guilty about what I am about to do." Travis's confusion deepened. Amber had stopped crying, watching me with red, puffy eyes. I pulled my phone from the small clutch I had been carrying. A few taps and I opened an email. Then another. And another. 3 weeks ago. I began, my voice carrying through the now silent room. I was working on our shared laptop. You know, the one we bought together for managing household bills and shared documents. You left your email open. I saw Travis's face change. The confusion started shifting to understanding, to fear. "I found an email from Amber," I continued. "It was very sweet, actually. She was talking about how she could not wait to be your wife someday, how she was counting down the days until you finally left me, how she had already started planning what your wedding would look like." Amber made a small noise, something between a gasp and a whimper. I ignored her. At first I thought it must be a mistake, some weird joke. But then I read more. Months of emails, texts you had sent from your phone and then deleted but were still backed up to the cloud. Pictures you sent her. Pictures she sent you. Plans you made together. Promises about a future that somehow did not include me. Travis reached out like he was going to touch me, but I stepped back. "Do not," I said sharply. "You do not get to touch me. Not anymore. My mother made a small sound. When I glanced over, she had her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. But there was something else in her expression, too. Pride, maybe. Or approval. I could have confronted you that day, I said, turning back to Travis. I could have screamed and cried and demanded answers, but I did not. Do you know why? Travis shook his head mutely. Because I wanted to see exactly what kind of man you really were. I wanted to see how far you would go. I paused. Let that sink in. And you did not disappoint. You went further than I ever imagined. I pulled a folded envelope from my clutch. It was thick, official looking. I had been carrying it with me all night, waiting for the right moment. These are divorce papers. I had them drawn up 2 weeks ago. I already signed them. You just need to add your signature. I held the envelope out to Travis. His hand shook as he took it. He opened it, pulled out the papers, his eyes scanning the legal document. You will notice, I continued, that I am not asking for alimony. I am not fighting you for the house. You can keep it. I do not want anything that reminds me of a life built on lies. What I did not tell him, what he would figure out soon enough, was that I had already systematically moved my assets. The money I had earned, my retirement accounts, the investments I made with my own bonuses and salary increases, all of it was already secured in accounts with only my name. The house he was keeping. It still had $200,000 left on the mortgage. The joint savings account he had drained to buy Amber that obscene engagement ring, that was money he had contributed anyway. My money was already safe. Travis looked up from the papers. You knew, he whispered. All along you knew. I did, I confirmed. I wanted to see how low you could sink, whether you would come clean, maybe even apologize and try to fix things. I looked at Amber still standing there in her red dress with that massive diamond on her finger. Instead, you decided to propose to your mistress at our 10th wedding anniversary party. So yes, Travis, you showed me exactly who you are, and I believe you. I turned to Amber next. She actually flinched when I looked at her. You can have him, I said. But just so you know, that ring on your finger, he bought it with our joint savings. The account he emptied 3 days ago. That account is now completely depleted. $0 Amber's eyes went wide. She looked at Travis. You said you had money saved, she said, her voice small. He did, I replied before Travis could answer. And he spent it all on that ring. So good luck building a life with a man who has nothing left to give you. A man with no savings, a house full of debt, and a reputation that is about to be destroyed when word of this gets out. I looked around the room at the remaining guests. Most of them worked in professional circles that overlapped with Travis's. News of this would spread like wildfire. The man who proposed to his married assistant at his own wedding anniversary would become a cautionary tale. A joke. Someone to avoid in business. Kyle's voice echoed in my head, his parting words about filing for full custody. I turned back to Amber. And speaking of reputations, I wonder what a family court judge will think when they hear about all this. A mother who abandoned her 2-year-old daughter to have an affair, who lied to everyone. Kyle seems pretty determined to make sure you do not see Emma again. I do not think any of this helps your case. Amber burst into fresh tears. She looked at Travis like he could save her somehow, but he was just standing there holding divorce papers, looking like the floor had opened up beneath him. Linda Travis's mother approached me. She wrapped her arms around me, hugging me tightly. I am so proud of you, she whispered. You are stronger than all of us. When she pulled back, she looked at her son with pure disappointment. I did not raise you to be this person, she told him. I do not know who you have become. Richard put his hand on my shoulder. You will always be family to us, he said gruffly. No matter what happens. That almost broke me. The kindness from Travis's own parents, their loyalty to me over their son, it was nearly enough to crack the composed facade I was maintaining, but I held it together. I had one more thing to do. I walked to the table where my purse was sitting. I pulled out my car keys. I looked at the room one last time, at the white roses that were supposed to celebrate love, at the half-eaten anniversary cake, at the guests who had come expecting a party and got a show instead. I am leaving now, I announced. Travis, have your lawyer contact mine. I want this finalized as quickly as possible. I looked at Amber. And you should probably call your husband, ex-husband, whatever he is now. You two have a lot to figure out. I walked toward the exit, head held high, shoulders back. Brooke and Danielle immediately fell into step beside me. My mother grabbed her coat and followed. Other guests parted like a wave, creating a path for me. As I reached the door, I heard Amber say something to Travis. You told me she did not care about you anymore. You said she would be relieved. I stopped, turned back. He lied to you, I said simply. Just like he lied to me. Just like he will lie to the next person. Because that is what he does. Then I walked out of the Pink Door restaurant, leaving Travis and Amber to drown in the wreckage they had created. The cool Seattle night air hit my face, and for the first time in 3 weeks since the moment I found those emails, I took a full deep breath. I was free. The days immediately following that disastrous anniversary dinner blurred together in a strange mix of numbness and clarity. I woke up the next morning in a hotel room, the Edgewater Hotel, overlooking Elliott Bay. I could not face going back to the Ballard house, not yet, so Brooke had booked us a suite. She stayed with me that first night, ordering room service we barely touched, sitting with me on the balcony as we watched ferries cross the water under a gray sky. You were incredible last night, Brooke said, breaking hours of silence. I have never seen you like that. So strong. I did not feel strong. I felt hollowed out, like someone had reached inside and scooped out everything that made me who I was. But I also felt something else, something I had not expected. Relief, like I had been holding my breath for 3 weeks and could finally exhale. Within 48 hours, I found an apartment. A 1-bedroom place in Capitol Hill with hardwood floors and big windows and a view of the Space Needle in the distance. It was smaller than the house Simpler, but it was mine. Only mine. No shared memories. No ghosts of a marriage that never really existed the way I thought it did. I hired movers while Travis was at work. I took only what was truly mine. My clothes, my books, the coffee maker I bought with my own money, the framed photos of my family. I left behind everything we had picked out together. The couch we debated over, the kitchen table where we ate countless dinners, even my wedding dress still hanging in a garment bag in the back of the closet. I wanted no reminders. Travis called me 17 times that first week. I did not answer. He sent texts. Long paragraphs about how sorry he was, how Amber had manipulated him, how he made a terrible mistake. I blocked his number. He tried to email. I set up an auto-reply directing him to contact my lawyer. I meant what I said at the restaurant. We would communicate through attorneys only. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Grace Chen, who came highly recommended, told me I had done everything right. The way I had protected my assets, gathered evidence, waited for Travis to show his true colors in the most public way possible, it all worked in my favor. She said the divorce would be quick. Washington was a no-fault state, and since I was not asking for anything beyond what was legally mine, and Travis was too ashamed to fight, we could be done in a matter of months. Work became my sanctuary. I threw myself into my job with renewed focus. My boss called me into her office 3 days after the anniversary incident. I thought maybe she had heard what happened, maybe she was checking on me. Instead, she offered me a promotion. Vice President of Marketing. They had been considering it for months, she said, and I had proven time and again I could handle it. I accepted immediately. The raise was substantial. The new role meant more responsibility, more travel, more opportunities. It meant I could easily afford my new apartment and rebuild my life on my own terms. The news about Travis and Amber spread through Seattle's professional community like wildfire. Everyone wanted to know the story. Colleagues who were at the anniversary dinner apparently gave very detailed accounts. Within a week, the whole city knew about the man who proposed to his married mistress at his own 10th wedding anniversary party. Travis's firm called an emergency meeting. I heard this from Danielle, who heard it from her husband who worked in the same building. Morrison and Associates could not afford the scandal. They asked Travis to resign. When he refused, they found a clause in his partnership agreement about maintaining professional standards and conduct. They forced him out. 10 years of building his career gone. Amber fared even worse. The nursing program she was enrolled in had a code of conduct clause. She was expelled. The hospital where she worked part-time as a nurse's aide let her go. Kyle followed through on his threat. He filed for divorce and full custody of Emma within 48 hours. The evidence of her affair, her lies, it all went into court documents. Public record for anyone to see. Kyle actually reached out to me 2 weeks after everything imploded. He sent a respectful email asking if we could meet for coffee. He said he thought it might help to talk to someone who understood what it felt like to be betrayed by someone you trusted completely. We met at a quiet cafe in Fremont on a Saturday morning. He looked tired, older than he had seemed that night at the restaurant. He showed me pictures of Emma, his daughter, a beautiful little girl with dark curls and a gap-toothed smile. He talked about how he married Amber right out of college, how they were high school sweethearts, how he thought they would grow old together. "I worked 2 jobs for 3 years," he told me, stirring sugar into his coffee without drinking it. "I wanted to make sure she could finish nursing school without stress. I took care of Emma every night while Amber was supposedly studying or working late. I believed every lie, every excuse. I trusted her completely." "I know the feeling," I said quietly. We sat there for 2 hours, 2 people who had loved the wrong humans trying to make sense of how we had missed all the signs. Kyle told me Amber was fighting the custody arrangement, but his lawyer said he had a strong case. Infidelity, abandonment of parental duties, the very public nature of her affair, it all supported him. "I do not want to keep Emma from her mother entirely," he said. "That is not good for anyone, but I need to know Emma is the priority, not whatever new relationship Amber jumps into next." Before we parted ways, Kyle said something that stuck with me. "Travis called me, about a week ago. He wanted to apologize, I guess. Or maybe just explain himself. He said Amber told him she was divorced, that she was single, that everything she told him was true." "Do you believe him?" I asked. Kyle shrugged. "I think they both lied. To each other. To us. To themselves. I think they built a fantasy and convinced themselves it was real. Now they get to live in the reality they created." I never asked Kyle if Travis and Amber were still together. I did not care, but he volunteered the information anyway. "They are," he said, "living in some cheap apartment in Renton. From what I hear, they fight constantly. Turns out a relationship built on deception is not actually that strong when reality sets in. I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand how I had given 10 years of my life to someone who could betray me so completely. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Nakamura, helped me see that Travis's choices were about Travis, not about any failure on my part. She helped me process the grief because it was grief the death of a marriage of a future I had imagined of a person I thought I knew. I joined a yoga class, met a group of women who became friends, none of them knowing about my past, just accepting me as Skylar, who liked vinyasa flow and green tea. I started going to concerts again, something I had stopped doing because Travis always said he was too tired. I took a weekend trip to Portland with Brooke, and Danielle spent 2 days exploring bookstores and eating amazing food and laughing until my stomach hurt. Slowly, painfully, I started to feel like myself again. Not the self I was before Travis, but a new self. Stronger, clearer, less willing to accept less than I deserved. My apartment became my refuge. I painted the walls a soft gray blue, hung art I chose myself, bought plants and actually kept them alive, created a space that reflected who I was, not who I was trying to be for someone else. Travis tried to reach me through his mother at one point. Linda called apologetic, saying her son wanted to talk to me, wanted closure maybe. I told her gently but firmly that I had all the closure I needed. I asked her how she was doing. We ended up talking for an hour. She cried, apologizing for her son, saying she did not know how she and Richard had raised someone capable of such cruelty. I told her it was not her fault. Some people just make bad choices. 4 months after the anniversary disaster, the divorce was finalized. I signed the papers in Grace's office, handed them over, and felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, just a quiet sense of completion. 6 months after everything fell apart, I got an unexpected message on LinkedIn. It was from Kyle. He said his divorce was also finalized. He had full custody of Emma, with Amber getting supervised visitation twice a month. He said Emma was thriving, happy, adjusting well. He said he was doing better too, learning to trust again slowly. He thanked me for meeting him that day, said it helped more than I knew. I responded, wished him and Emma well, meant every word. Life moved forward. Seasons changed. Seattle summer gave way to fall rain, returning to wash the city clean. I got promoted again at work, started mentoring younger women in the marketing field, traveled to conferences in New York and Austin and Los Angeles, built a life that was full and meaningful and entirely my own. I heard through the grapevine that Travis was working at a much smaller architecture firm, now nothing like Morrison and Associates. That Amber was working retail, trying to figure out her next steps. That they were still together, but it was rocky. None of it mattered to me anymore. They were characters in a story I had finished reading. 1 year after that anniversary dinner, I woke up in my Capitol Hill apartment to sunlight streaming through the windows. It was a Saturday morning in late spring. The cherry blossoms outside were in full bloom, petals drifting through the air like snow. I made coffee in my favorite mug, the blue ceramic one I bought at a street market in Portland. I took it out to my small balcony, settled into the chair I had picked out myself, and looked out at the Seattle skyline. The Space Needle rose in the distance, the morning sun catching its silver exterior. Mount Rainier was visible on the horizon, snow-capped and majestic. I thought about the woman I was a year ago. The one who stood in front of a mirror at the pink door, smoothing down a sapphire dress, believing she was about to celebrate a decade of love. That woman felt so far away now, almost like a different person entirely. I was not that woman anymore. I had been broken down and rebuilt myself from the foundation up. The process had been painful, excruciating at times, but necessary, like a bone that had to be re-broken to heal correctly. My phone buzzed. A text from Brooke asking if I wanted to join her family for brunch. Another from Danielle suggesting we try a new hiking trail next weekend. One from my mom sending me a photo of her garden, the roses in full bloom. I was surrounded by people who loved me genuinely, who supported me unconditionally, who showed up when I needed them. I had learned so much in the past year. About resilience, about self-worth, about the difference between being alone and being lonely. I was alone now, but I was not lonely. I had myself, and that was enough. More than enough. I thought about Travis and Amber sometimes, not with anger anymore or even hurt, more with a distant curiosity, like wondering about characters in a book after you have finished reading. I heard they finally broke up 8 months after the anniversary incident. The relationship that was supposed to be true passion and real happiness lasted less time than it took to conceive and birth a baby. Amber moved to California, trying to start over somewhere no one knew her story. Travis was still in Seattle, trying to rebuild a career and a reputation that would probably never fully recover. I did not take pleasure in their failures. I did not wish them more pain. I just felt nothing. They had made their choices. They were living with the consequences. That was their journey, not mine. Kyle and I had stayed in loose contact, occasional messages updating each other on major life events. He had started dating someone new, a teacher he met at Emma's preschool. She sounded kind. Good for him. Emma was thriving, he said, happy and healthy and surrounded by love. That made me genuinely glad. The little girl had not asked for any of this. She deserved stability and joy. My career continued to flourish. I was now leading a team of 12 working on campaigns that actually made me proud. I had traveled to 6 new countries in the past year, stood at the top of a volcano in Iceland, watched the sunrise over Mount Fuji in Japan, ate the best pasta of my life in a tiny restaurant in Rome. All places Travis had said we would go someday, but somehow never had time for. I made the time. I went alone. And it was incredible. I had been on a few dates. Nothing serious. A software engineer I met at a friend's party. A teacher my mom tried to set me up with. A freelance photographer I matched with on a dating app. They were all fine. Nice even. But I was not in a rush. For the first time in my adult life, I was comfortable being single. Comfortable being alone with my thoughts. Comfortable taking up space in the world without needing someone else to validate my existence. Dr. Nakamura. My therapist said I had done remarkable work. We had been meeting bi-weekly for the past year, unpacking not just the betrayal from Travis, but patterns from my whole life. The tendency to make myself smaller, to prioritize others' needs, to believe that being chosen was more important than choosing myself. We were working on all of it. The divorce had finalized 9 months ago, but it had taken the full year to really process what happened, to move from the shock and pain and anger to something quieter. Acceptance. Understanding. Peace. I finished my coffee, went back inside, and looked at my calendar. Book club tonight with the women from my yoga class. Coffee with a former colleague tomorrow who wanted advice on a career transition. A volunteer shift at the food bank on Tuesday. A weekend trip to the San Juan Islands planned for next month with Brooke and her family. My life was full, rich, meaningful. I walked to my bedroom, opened my closet. The sapphire dress from the anniversary dinner hung in the back. I had almost thrown it away a dozen times, but I kept it. Not as a reminder of pain, but as a marker of transformation. The woman who wore that dress died that night at the pink door. Someone new was born in her place. I pulled the dress out, now looked at it in the morning light. It was still beautiful. The beading still caught the light. The fabric still flowed like water. Maybe I would wear it again someday. Or maybe I would donate it. Either way, it did not have power over me anymore. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Skylar. The voice was familiar but distant. Travis. My heart did not race. My hands did not shake. I just felt tired. How did you get this number? I called your mom, told her I needed to talk to you. It is important. I sighed, walked back out to the balcony. What do you want, Travis? There was a long pause. I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not just for how everything happened, but for all of it. For taking you for granted. For betraying your trust. For humiliating you. For wasting 10 years of your life. I looked out at Mount Rainier, at the city spread below me, at the life I had built from the ashes of our marriage. You did not waste 10 years of my life, I said quietly. You taught me what I will not accept, what I deserve, what real strength looks like. So in a way, you gave me a gift. A gift? He sounded confused. You freed me, Travis. You showed me exactly who you were, and I got out. Some people stay in marriages like ours for decades, always wondering, always hoping the other person will change. You saved me from that. So thank you. Another long silence. Are you happy? He asked finally. I thought about it, really considered the question. I am getting there, I said honestly. Some days are harder than others. But yes, I am building something real, something true, something that is mine. I made the biggest mistake of my life, Travis said, his voice cracking. Losing you. I know that now. I know it every day. Then learn from it, I replied. Be better for the next person. Do not make the same mistakes. Grow up. Take responsibility. Become someone worthy of trust. Is there any chance? He started, but I cut him off. No, I said firmly. There is not. That part of my life is over. I wish you well, Travis. I really do. But we are done. We have been done for a long time. I hung up before he could respond. Blocked the number. He did not get to have access to me anymore. Not my time. Not my energy. Not my forgiveness. I had given him enough. I stood there on my balcony, feeling the spring breeze on my face, and I smiled. A real smile, the kind that reaches your eyes and settles in your chest. I was 35 years old. I had a career I loved. Family and friends who supported me unconditionally, a future that was wide open and full of possibilities. The betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but it did not. Instead, it forced me to find strength I did not know I had. It taught me that I could survive anything, that I was enough all by myself without needing someone else to complete me. I do not know what the future holds, and honestly, I do not need to. I have learned that sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the best version of yourself. If someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. And if they humiliate you in front of everyone you love, let them. Because when the door opens and the truth walks in, you will be the one standing tall while they crumble. That night at the restaurant when the door opened and Kyle walked in, Travis went pale. But I went free. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to make the choice to walk away from someone you thought you would be with forever? How did you find the strength? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who might need to hear that they are strong enough to start over. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that betrayal does not define you. How you rise from it does. Take care of yourselves and remember you are worthy of real love. Honest love, the kind that does not hide in shadows or build on lies. Until next time.